Hello everyone and welcome back to our channel Biodiversity and Conservation. I am Subhalakshmi Rao from Ambika Prasad Research Foundation, India. We are continuing our UGC NET examination series for environmental science subject, and this is 30th part of Unit 3, Environmental Biology. Today we are going to discuss on oxygen cycle. As we have discussed earlier that there are two types of biogeochemical cycles. One is gaseous and the second is sedimentary. So this oxygen cycle belongs to the gaseous cycle of biogeochemical cycle, and oxygen cycle mainly refers to the movement of oxygen through the atmosphere, that is air, to in biosphere between plants and animals, and lithosphere in the earth's crust. So the movement or the cycling of oxygen within all three spheres gives us the oxygen cycle. The oxygen cycle also demonstrates how free oxygen is made available in each of these regions as well as how it is used. So, on which step oxygen is converted to ozone, or in which step oxygen is converted to carbon dioxide, and in which stage of carbon dioxide is converted back into oxygen, how they circulate in the um, atmosphere or in our environment, that gives us our oxygen cycle. So the oxygen cycle is the biogeochemical cycle of oxygen atoms between different oxidation states in ions, oxides, and molecules through redox reactions within and between the spheres or these reservoirs like atmosphere, biosphere, and lithosphere of the planet Earth. So all these conversions take energy, and these energy are mainly provided by sun, solar energy, which gives us the fundamental base for splitting of oxygen atoms into various ions, and um, then um, then converting them into different oxides with mixing oxygen with different other elements or compounds. So the processes within the oxygen cycle are considered to be biological or geological, and are evaluated as either a source, that is O2 production. We will see how much oxygen is produced, and source is the um, substance like plants, they produce oxygen, so we will consider them as a source. And sink is the substance that consumes oxygen, like consumers, primary consumers like humans, animals, they all consume oxygen, so they are sinks. And the oxygen is the most common element on earth, and it represents a large portion of each main reservoir like atmosphere, biosphere, etc. And here we will discuss about some percentage of oxygen within all these spheres. So the atmosphere has 21% oxygen by volume, and there are also other oxygen containing molecules in the atmosphere like ozone, carbon dioxide, water vapor, sulfur and nitrogen oxides. And in the biosphere, oxygen is 22% by volume, and present mainly as a component of organic molecules. And the empirical formula is CHNO whole um, X. That means the number of atoms is depicted by X. and water. So biosphere has um, different organic molecules which are composed of oxygen, and hydrosphere is 33% oxygen by volume and is present mainly as a component of water molecules with dissolved molecules including free oxygen and carbonic acids like HX it may be H2CO3 or um, H3CO3 whole 2, and all that depends on which how many molecules of oxygen combines with um, H and hydrogen and carbon. And the lithosphere has the highest oxygen percentage by volume, that is 46.6%, and and the oxygen is present mainly as silica minerals like SiO2 and other oxide minerals. And we will discuss something on sources and sinks. Like there are many abiotic sources like Earth's crust or you can say water. All these are abiotic sources, and sinks, they may be abiotic, they may be biotic, but all these are sources of oxygen. So while there are many abiotic sources and sinks for oxygen, the presence of the uh, large concentration of free oxygen in modern Earth's atmosphere and ocean is due to the oxygen production from the biological process of oxygenic photosynthesis with um, a biological sink known as biological pump and a geologic process of carbon burial involving plate tectonics. Means we get maximum amount of oxygen through photosynthesis and some geological process of carbon burying, which gives out oxygen as a byproduct. So we will discuss some processes where we get oxygen. First is biological production. That is the main source of atmospheric free oxygen is photosynthesis, which produces sugars and free oxygen from carbon dioxide and water. So the photosynthesizing organisms like plant um, and phytoplankton in the ocean, they all give out oxygen as a byproduct due to the process of photosynthesis. So oxygen is now freely available for others to inhale. And abiotic production, it is an additional source of atmospheric free oxygen, comes from photolysis, whereby high energy ultraviolet radiation breaks down the atmospheric water and nitrous oxide into component atoms, and the free hydrogen and nitrogen atoms escape into the space, leaving the oxygen in the atmosphere. These are the two reactions where water is broken down into oxygen and protons and electrons. And in this reaction, nitrogen oxide, nitrous oxide is broken down into oxygen molecule and four nitrogen atoms. Then the next process is biological consumption. The main way free oxygen is lost from the atmosphere is via respiration and decay mechanisms, in which animal life and bacteria consume oxygen and release carbon dioxide. So these are the biological production and abiotic production are the sources through which we get the oxygen, and biological consumption is the process or depicting the sinks like humans, animals, and plants also. We all consume oxygen and release carbon dioxide. So this is an example of sink. Now there is a small source of um, release of oxygen into the atmosphere through ozone oxygen cycle. This happens when ozone is split into oxygen and free radical oxygen atoms, and how it is done we will discuss here. So the presence of atmospheric oxygen has led to the formation of ozone, that is O3, and the ozone layer within the stratosphere. So due to the combination of oxygen with uh, free radical oxygen, that is O, we get ozone, O3. But first we have to split the oxygen into free radical oxygen atoms, which is possible due to the UV light less than 200 nanometer wavelength. So by splitting oxygen molecule into two oxygen atoms, we get our ozone. Now the ozone layer is actually very important for the modern life because it absorbs the harmful ultraviolet radiation. So when it absorbs these UV rays, it splits into O2 plus O, and O then combines with another ozone molecule to give us two molecules of O2. So due to this process, we get back our oxygen in the atmosphere. So that was also a source. Now we will discuss about what is oxygen cycle. Oxygen cycle is the circulation of oxygen in various forms through nature. The free oxygen in the air, and it may be dissolved in water. So oxygen is second to only nitrogen in abundance among the other elements in the atmosphere. And plants and animals use oxygen to respire and return it to the air and water as carbon dioxide. And carbon dioxide is then taken up by algae and terrestrial green plants and converted into carbohydrates during the process of photosynthesis, where oxygen is released as a byproduct. So the waters of the world are the main oxygen generators of the biosphere. As we know, 97% of our earth is covered with water, and as there are algae and phytoplanktons present in water, we get our 90% of oxygen from water only, and the oxygen is involved to some degree in all other biogeochemical cycles, like in the detritus from living organism. It transfers oxygen containing compounds such as calcium carbonates into the lithosphere, from which we get our oxygen also back into the atmosphere through the breakdown of calcium carbonate. Despite the burning of fossil fuel and reduction of natural vegetation on land as well as sea, the level of atmospheric oxygen appears to be relatively stable because of the increase in plant productivity resulting from the agricultural advances worldwide nowadays. But we are also cutting down so many trees uh, through deforestation, which is also decreasing the level of atmospheric oxygen. Now it may be stable, but in coming days and with our activities, maybe the oxygen present in atmosphere will decrease, which will give us so many complications, starting from breathing. And in this picture, we will see how oxygen is circulated in the biosphere, atmosphere, and lithosphere. Here, the oxygen is taken up by animal through respiration, through respiration, plants also take oxygen, and through due to burning, we require oxygen. So industries also take up oxygen from the atmosphere, and after respiration, animals and plants all give out carbon dioxide back, which are absorbed by plants, and they convert um, this carbon dioxide uh, in the presence of sunlight through the process of photosynthesis into food, where oxygen is removed as uh, a byproduct and it gets back to the atmosphere. And after the death and decay of animal and plants, all the comp- um, organic compounds get decomposed in the land, in the soil, into fossil and fossil fuels, which are used up by the industries in combustion, which will again give back carbon dioxide and to the atmosphere, which are used by plants to convert it into oxygen. During the process of decomposition, also carbon dioxide is released, which are taken up by the plants, and through the process of photosynthesis, we get the oxygen as a byproduct uh, back to the atmosphere. So this is all from me today. Thank you.